a spirit. It's waited so long for your homecoming day. It knows the peace you need and the hurt you're feeling. We want to hold you and to wipe your tears away. Where the doors unlocked, the lights are on. What are you waiting for? Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in. There is room enough in the home of love for someone just like you. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. Thank you for my life, Spirit. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my life, Spirit. Thank you for my life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. Welcome to Unity of Wilmington's hybrid service. I'm Vicki Hayes, and I'm so excited to be here with the celebration singers, Katie Deese, our choir director, our soloist, Paul Teal, and the band, Justin Lacy and John Hill. And a big, warm welcome home to Reverend Mindy Tucker, who will be giving the lesson. We are a community united in love, expanding consciousness and transforming, and we love this community. We are a wonderful community of people, and we want to remember these three very important affirmations. You are a beloved expression of God. You are divine light. 2, You are here for a holy purpose. Go out in the world and shine your light. And 3, you're at the right place at the right time, right now.
In a time full of war, be peace. In a time full of doubt, just believe. Yeah, there ain't that much difference between you and me. In a time full of war, be peace. In a world full of hate, be a light. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark, you were born to shine. In a world full of hate, be a light. La 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 la. In a place that needs change, make a difference. In a time full of noise, just listen. 'Cause life is but a breeze, better live it. In a place that needs a change, make a difference. In a world full of hate, be a light. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark, you were born to shine. In a world full of hate, be a light. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. In a race that you can't win, slow it down. Yeah, you only get one go around. And the finish line is 6 feet in the ground. In a race that you can't win, slow it down. In a world full of hate, be a light. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark, you were born to shine. In a world full of hate, be a light. Yeah, it's hard to live in color when you just see black and white. In a world full of hate, be a light.
There is no invitation more powerful than to be somewhere where you're not seeing your light reflected back. Be a light anyway. And recognize how good it feels to be that light. Let other people do what other people do. Our job is to be that light and to recognize it feels good to be here. It feels really good to be here. It's so good to be here. And I mean that personally. It's so good to be here. So wherever you are, whether you're in the building, part of the in-person service, or you are somewhere else, you're in your PJs watching at home, or you're watching this later, or you're listening to it on your earbuds, or you're driving in a car, wherever you are, ask yourself, do I feel good to be right where I am? Because it's where we are. We are where we are. Do I feel good to be where I am? And then use it as an invitation to let go of all the other stuff and to pay attention to our own light and to pay attention to who we are and where we are and say, wow, it does feel good to be here. It feels good to be here. So repeat after me. It feels good, to be here. It feels good to be here. It feels good to be here. So when we stop long enough to recognize that we're going to set aside any habit that we have of thinking up of our messed up lives that we see other people have, to stop whining, to stop complaining, to stop whatever the conversation is that has us spun up and thinking that we feel any less than good for being right where we are. When we take that opportunity, we actually begin to shift our consciousness. And as we shift our consciousness, we have more room in it because we've stopped the habits that don't serve us. We've stopped the conversation that does serve us. We've stopped the judgment about other people. We've stopped the judgment about our own, perhaps, messed up lives. We've stopped that, and we have so much more free time. We have so much more free time to recognize that we're actually have an opportunity to live the good life that we were created to live. So by now in this service, you recognize that I've at least been somewhere. And if I've never met you before, and if it's your first time at Unity of Wilmington or first time listening to Unity of Wilmington, what I want you to know is that I was on sabbatical for 3 months. And in the 3 months, I went on a road trip. It was a journey. I left Wilmington, North Carolina, and I drove across the United States to Eugene, Oregon. And then from Eugene, Oregon, I got on a plane, round trip to my homeland, my place of birth, which is Honolulu, Hawaii. I was there for 2 weeks. Eugene, and then back across the United States. See, I did the north part when it was warmer, and I did the southern part when it was colder up there. And I still ran into snow. I was driving. It wasn't sticking on the road, but I'm like, this is so not fair, this is so not fair. But, it was what was. So when all was said and done, it was 11,240 miles on my car. It was 7,714 miles in the air. It was 90 days. It was 32 states, 9 of which I needed to complete my 50. Check. 26 different hotel rooms, of time with 5 of my best friends, 3 weeks with my grandson, 2 hailstorms, and 1 very renewed and satisfied minister. Yeah, so thank you. I'm so grateful that I've been at Unity of Wilmington long enough to earn that sabbatical. And I'm so grateful for our admin, Wendy Miller, and our co-minister, Nikki Golden, because they not only did their jobs, they did my jobs too for those last 3 months. So thank you for your support so I could have that space to engage in the work that I needed to do. Giving a talk is like a habit. It's a routine. And writing it yesterday came really easy. And then I think I had this big upper limit problem because it was like the talk construction was so easy. See, I'm right back in the saddle. And then I turned around and I said, and now I have to memorize it. Hold that thought. Because I didn't make it. Okay, let's talk about expectations. See, it was a big segue. So let's talk about the segue about expectations. It's our human nature to have expectations. And especially we develop expectations when we begin a new venture or a new job. So we have expectations, that first blush of a relationship, that new job, that honeymoon period, that rite of passage. It's like, yes, I graduated, or, we set up all these expectations. And if or when we set up the expectations from a consciousness of happily ever after, then we're actually programming our mind and our life for something less than successful. Because I don't believe that the happily ever after syndrome exists. It's in Disney movies. It's in fairy tales. But just because we've achieved a milestone and we have a new beginning, it doesn't mean that everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be wonderful. So being mindful of our expectations really sets us up for a greater chance of progress in life, a greater chance of success when we incorporate our humanity with our spirituality, the spiritual ideal and the human reality of life. So when we get caught up in the happily ever after, we're saying things like, once I get that new job, everything will be fine. Once I get married, I'll be happy. Or once I start a family, I'll be happy. When my kids were in preschool, so they were really little, the preschool that they went to offered parenting classes. They brought in a local psychologist, and the local psychologist came in on the first parenting class, and we're all sitting there, you know, as new parents, because we're going to do things perfectly. And she takes out a flip chart, and she begins drawing on the flip chart. She draws this whole row of happy faces. And then under that, she draws a whole another row of happy faces. And then under that, she draws a whole another row of happy faces. And she says, how many of you expect your children to express themselves and behave this way 100% of the time? And we parents kind of went, but in my mind, I went to, if I could just be a good enough parent, my children would be like this 100% of the time. And then it was like she was channeling Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder. She went straight to metaphysics because she said, this happens and this is in the mind of God. This is the absolute realm, where in the absolute realm, in the mind of God, we can always be in a state of grace. We can always tune into that joy that drives us. We can always tune into the appreciation that moves us and lifts us up. That's the absolute realm, and that's the ideal. And we can certainly align with the absolute realm. We can align with the mind of God. But as I said, we're not only spiritual beings. We're human beings. So in the relative realm, which is where we live in our humanity, there's a combination of happy faces, sad faces, angry faces, curious faces, delighted faces, more sad faces, and a few angry faces. I mean, there's just this whole spectrum of emotions and behaviors and ways of being. When I started out on my road trip, I had expectations. This was my sabbatical. And I'm going to have enriching, enlivening, and deep experiences. I can't tell you how many books I took, some of which I read. But I just had all these expectations. And when they began to become peppered with these other experiences, I got frustrated. And I turned to Catherine Ponder. I don't know if you're familiar with the Unity writer Catherine Ponder. She's been around for a very long time, and she's very frank and upfront. She's the queen of affirmations. Well, I can regularly honor Catherine Ponder as one of my channels of spiritual nourishment, so I always get these little pamphlets, and I had stuck one of these in a book that I took on my sabbatical. And it says, how your progress can be swift and certain. And then she said, the reason why progress isn't swift and certain, or our success is not coming out, or our expectations are not being fulfilled, is because we're attached to the past. We're living in the relative realm and we think that's all there is. So my sabbatical became clouded because I was more attached to what was going on out around me than I was tuning into that absolute divine mind of God that I am and that I have access to every moment. So Catherine Ponder says, your good has not rejected you, but you may have rejected it. You know, the thing about being a spiritual operator, being in this experience, is that we have dominion. And that's like the good news, and that's the other good news. But dominion means the more aware we are about our spiritual nature, our divine nature, the more self-responsibility we have to engage in. So it's probably, and most often, when we aren't experiencing the success or we aren't experiencing the progress that we want to make, it's not because the good isn't there, it's because we've rejected it. Ay, caramba! By holding on to someone or something from the past. That which you hold on to keeps you in the wilderness. Think about Moses and how long Moses was in the wilderness with the people. And the conversations of the people were all about, you know, we should have never left Egypt. It had to wait a whole generation, an entire generation, to get a new consciousness that could think something different. Differently, could think something different. Differently, could think differently. Could think differently. In this little pamphlet, Catherine Ponder shares a story about two women who were divorced. And they were both confusing and confounding their lives because they were holding on to the past. And she said their outward expression was showing up as difficulty in their jobs. They were overweight, and they were having trouble with their other friendships. And so one of them, she said, was actually in court with dealing with a case that came against her. But both instances, one of the women was holding herself to the past by continuing to have a relationship with her former husband. And the other woman was having a relationship with two of her former husbands. So can you see how the confusion and how you want something this way, but you're acting this way? Can you see how confused your life can be? It's really, Catherine Ponder just flat out says, it's foolish. It's foolish to think we can have this when we are attached to that. It is foolish to hold on to that which keeps us in the wilderness. And then she says, because she doesn't pull any punches, she says, stop saying that you have had a hard time in life. Who hasn't? In one way or another. Stop talking about unhappy experiences. Cease trying to get sympathy. To continue doing so keeps you emotionally attached to hard experiences. As you continue to feed them emotionally, you keep them alive. There is no room in your thoughts, feelings for better experiences. Let go, release, loose, forgive, give up the past. So 3 weeks into my sabbatical road trip journey, all I could think about were those mounting up experiences that were less than my expectations. All I could think about. And by the time I arrived at my friend Sandra Campbell's house in Missouri, she opened the door and I walked in and I started to cry. I was really puddling on the floor of her entryway. this big truck almost hit me, and then my car light went on, and then this happened, and this happened. I started telling her about it, and I was there for the Fillmore Festival, so now I have 100 people to be with, and I started telling them all of my laments, how hard this road trip had been, and how road trips were not fun, and road trips were scary. So what was I feeding? What was I feeding? I was feeding my emotions, and I was keeping them alive. I did that for 3 days. 3 days. And on the third day, I was talking to my friend and colleague, Jackie Linetti. It used to be Linetti, but now it's Fernandez, Jackie Fernandez. And she did this thing. Now, I don't really know if she did this thing, but this is what I felt. I felt her go like this. And then it was like she whipped out my palm, and she went like this. Now, I can almost guarantee you she didn't do this, but that's what I felt. And then she looked at me. She didn't pay attention to anything I said. She didn't respond to anything I said. She didn't react to anything I said. Really? Come on. I've been telling this story for 3 days. I'm pretty good at it by now. Not to mention, the 3 weeks I've built it up and collected all this evidence. She just said, I love road trips. I love the adventure of being present to the way life is. And I just stood there and looked at her, and she had this radiant light emanating from her. She was glowing. I love road trips. I love being open to the adventure of life and being present to the full moment. I mean, it was like, wow. And then immediately somebody else caught her attention, and she turned and went on. And I felt like I was standing there going, I could have this, or I could have that. I could have that. I could transcend my relative experience. I could still have all those things, but I could transcend my conditions. I can transcend my circumstances. I can do that. And I began to turn around and tell everybody who would listen. And during my time here at Unity Village, which I thought was going to be 10 days, and then I was going to turn around and drive to Wilmington, I am going to have a consciousness shift while I'm here. I'm going to have a consciousness shift while I'm here. I don't know if you remember being in 7th or 8th grade, and the math teacher would go up to the front of the room and on the blackboard would write a problem out, and then somebody, like some student in class, was supposed to get up and solve the problem using the law of mathematics. And inevitably, with the harder problems, there was some input error from the student. And so at the end, the answer was wrong. It was wrong. It wasn't that the law of mathematics was wrong. It's that the human part of us, the humanity in that student, had some error thinking. And that error thinking got plugged into the law. The law still did its job, but the outcome was different. So the lesson really is there's no use in getting mad at the law. It's complete waste of time to get mad at the law, because the law is going to work out in mathematics. So the best thing to do most often is what? Erase it. Erase all the work and start again. And I believe that's what we're invited to when we decide to transcend our current experience. Erase the blackboard of our consciousness. Meditate, pray, whatever you need to do in order to erase your error thinking, erase your attachments to the past, and begin again. Begin again using words that you get in prayer and meditation. Begin again with the words that you're inspired in your conversations with other people. Begin again. Erase the blackboard of your consciousness so that you can become in alignment with that absolute realm, with joy and gratitude for all the somethings and the someones in your life. Joy and gratitude for all the good that's all around you. Joy and gratitude to be fully alive in the present moment. And for me, it's like erase my thinking about whatever I was thinking, whatever evidence I had collected about my road trip, and transcend that. For when we become transcendent, and I'm not talking about, ascending, but when we, in this combination of ourselves as spiritual and human beings, become transcendent, the world could burn down around us, and we would still be shining our light. We would still be shining the light, the love, and the joy that we are. In Hebrew scriptures, in the book of Job, Job says this: you will decide on a matter and it will be established for you. Our job is to decree it. We decree. The law works it out. We decree, the law works it out. Say the word decree. Say it again. Now say it with some of that gumption that you want attached to that which you want most in life. Decree. Decree. We decree, the law works it out. Our job is to get the decree so firmly established in our consciousness that the law has no other choice than to establish it in our lives. So now, 6 days later, after talking to my friend Jackie Fernandez, got her name right. That's what happens when you get married. And anyway, 6 days later, after talking to Jackie, I'm back on the road. Can you get back on the road? I don't think you could ever get back anywhere, really. I mean, everything is different. It's sort of like, some people have said to me here, welcome back. And it's like, I'm not back. I'm here, now, in this present moment. Physical changes have gone on in the building and in the garden. Physical changes. Consciousness has shifted. You are not the same congregation. The board is not of the same mindset. I am a different person. There is nothing for me to go back to. See what I mean? So I couldn't go back on the road with my transcendent consciousness. I went on the road with a new attitude. I went on the road with a new set of expectations. I loosed, lost, let go, forgave the laments that obviously served me for a time. But when I got on the road from Kansas City, from Unity Village, heading off a little bit north, but eventually west, I must have bounced in my seat for 200 miles. I mean, it was like, I wasn't even listening to music. I had, because I declared with my thoughts, with my feelings, I decreed with my words. When we use words, words are the primary first thrust of our creative power. And the more we use the words that we want to use, the more certain the law will work that way. If we're uncertain and we use other words, the law will work that way. We decree. The law works it out. We decree. The law works it out. If you are interested, Unity if you are interested in transcendence, just saying. If you're interested in transcendence, Unity of Wilmington is offering this affirmation today. I am not hypnotized by present circumstances, events, or situations. For real. I recognize a better set of circumstances as possible for me. I decree. The law works it out. Let's say this together. I am not hypnotized by present circumstances, events, or situations. I recognize a better set of circumstances as possible for me. I decree. The law works it out. Let's say that last part. I decree. The law works it out. Let's take that into meditation. Let's take that into meditation, because that is a place where we can erase the blackboard of our consciousness. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Find whatever position to place your body in so that your well-being can assuredly be supported in this time. Without thought or concern for comfort, rest right where you are. Allow the thoughts and feelings that you've been carrying appear before you. As if the hand of God was writing them on the blackboard of your consciousness. Allow them to freely flow from your heart and your mind in a way that gathering them gives yourself some perspective, some detachment, and some distance. Notice which thoughts and feelings and memories have been so familiar to you. They're like friends who aren't friends. They're like people you've hung out with but you didn't really like. And let them get written on that blackboard of your consciousness. Bring them into the light. Bring them out and into the light of love. And then with your cosmic eraser, notice the error thoughts, the error inputs, the bindings to the past, and with your cosmic eraser, begin to remove them from your blackboard. Loose them. Let them go. Forgive them for all the unhappiness, the anger, and the hurt brought you. Release them, loose them, forgive them, and erase them. And as they disappear from your grip, from your hold on them, notice your own light shining brighter. Your shining countenance that transcends all of those laments, that transcends your concerns, your confusion, that light that brings such an awareness to your life that you say, yes, it is good to be right where I am. I am fully alive in this present moment. I begin again, and I decree goodness for my life. I decree joy. I decree peace. I decree knowing and shining my light so brightly that the world could burn all around me, and I will be renewed and satisfied. I decree, and the law works it out. Take a breath. I decree, and the law works it out. So it is, and so we decree it to be. With this energy, this joy, this perspective, with this transcendence, I invite you back into this time, this place, this new way of being, this new set of expectations that are fully anchored in our divine nature. Amen.
In the windows, you can come on out, come open the door, tuck away the fears of freedom. Now we're here, there's no turning back. We have one world, we have a one choice. Hand in hand we will lay the track, because the train is coming to carry you home. Come dance with me. Dance into the light. There'll be no more hiding in the shadows of fear. There'll be no more chains to hold you. You can come on now, come open the door, brush away the chains of freedom. Now we're here, we won't go back. We have one world, we have a one voice. Hand in hand, we are not afraid, 'cause the train is coming to carry you home. Come dance with me. Come on and dance into the light. Oh, everybody dance into the light.
If you have been moved, touched, or inspired by anything you have heard, we are honored that you have considered Community of Wilmington a channel for your spiritual nourishment. And we invite you to tithe, to give. There's a number of ways you can find us on Venmo. You can do our donate button at unitywill.com. You can mail a check. And if you're in the building, you can put it in the basket at the back of the room.
Appreciate your presence and easy to light with us.
See the sun, it's a brand new day. All the world's in your hands now, use it. What's past is past, don't turn around. Brush away the chains of freedom. Now we're here, there's no turning back. We have each other, we have a one voice. Hand in hand we can lay the track. Because the train is coming to carry you home. Come dance with me. Everybody dance into the light. Oh, everybody dance into the light. Oh, dance into the light, the light, the light, the light, the light, the light. Oh, oh, dance into the light.
You for being here right now. Yay.